All right, welcome to Front Row Dads. This is a new show. I don't even know what we're going to call it, but I got three men with me on the line right now that are all part of the Front Row Dads Brotherhood. And on our Thursday release, we're going to be putting out these group conversations. So you guys have to help me figure out what the hell we're going to call this. But if you're listening to Front Row Dads for the first time, I'm glad you're here. I'm your host, Jon Vroman. And with me today, like I said, three amazing guys, part of our brotherhood. We've got Kelly Gilson, Stephen Bouchard, and Lance Montgomery. Guys, thanks for joining.
For sure. Good to be here.
Yeah. Sure.
And guys, so everybody out there listening is going to know who they're listening to. Let's just give a quick little bio. And anybody that's tuning in for the first time, I should mention, I live in Austin, Texas. My beautiful wife, Tatiana, and I have been married for 10 years. We have two boys, a 10-year-old named Tiger and 4-year-old named Ocean. And life is pretty fun right now, and it's full, like most of us I know. It's not without a lot of elements of crazy in there. But Stephen, what's up with you, man? Give us this quick bio.
Yeah, hey, good to be here today with you, John, and everybody else. Thank you. So my name's Steve. I'm based down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Been there for about 5 years, but spent most of the rest of my life up in Connecticut in the Northeast. There with my wife, Kate, and my two children, Nora, who's 7, and my son, Leo, who's 5. So similar to you, just a lot going on and a lot of energy and activities. We're actually out this week at the Outer Banks on vacation, kind of doing a family reunion. So having a ton of fun with that. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
And from a professional standpoint, I have a career where I lead an international sales team, but this is a transition year for me, moving into a new realm to do workshops, retreats, summits, and facilitation for teams and organizations.
Yeah, man. And guys, Stephen helps lead at our retreats twice a year in the spring and the fall for about 40 men who come together to focus on being better husbands, fathers, and family men. So thanks for your leadership, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kelly, what's up, dude? Give us
What's
the bio.
up, Johnny? Yeah, I'm up here in sunny San Diego, Carlsbad area. Been married going on year 12 this year. 3 beautiful kids, 10-year-old Kennedy, 7-year-old Cameron, and 3-year-old maniac, Mr. Carter. And yeah, we're just trying to hold down the fort during the summer right now.
It's awesome, man. And thinking about getting a Jeep.
And everyone's thinking about getting the Jeep when you're this close to the beach.
We were riffing a little earlier before we hit record about the fact that my wife wants one. Kelly was just looking at one. And our third man on the line, Mr. Lance Montgomery, is in a Jeep right now.
Yeah. I was just showing off my paraphernalia, my favorite things that I'm focused on. And every time you get in the car, I look at what kind of is surrounding my life and the adventures and things. So I'm super excited that Front Row Dads is on there now.
It's awesome, man. Tell us about your family, Lance.
Well, so I'm going on 16 years of marriage. My wife, Amy, has been my best friend for probably 17 or 18 of those. So, and we have 3 very active kids. Cody is my 14-year-old. Cade is my 12-year-old. And I have a beautiful girl that can do no wrong. Her name is Kale. We call her Kale Ray because we didn't know that kale was a superfood when we had her name picked out. And so, but she's very proud of it. She thinks she's a superfood now. So, but yeah, with 3 kids, I live here in Friendswood, Texas, a little south of Austin, south of Houston. And I've got a business of taking care of special needs kids, children with special needs. Been working on 12 years of doing that, serving families with kids that have children with special needs in their home. And I'm a therapist by trade, so just kind of been led all my life to help those that are in need. So
it's awesome, man. Well, you came to the right place because we have a lot of people in need. Everybody go to Lance with your challenges. Hey, Lance, can you give everybody your email now?
Yeah.
Have any
it's
challenges?
JON
at frontrowdads.com.
frontrowdads.com.
Yeah, we can make the next 35 minutes just a therapy session.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, let's all tell Lance our biggest problem. And see
Therapy Thursdays with Jon.
That's right.
And
That's
Lance.
exactly it. Oh, guys. Hey, well, let's start off today with a couple of wins. Things going well. What's going on with you guys? Like, give me something dad related, something about married life, something about your home life. What's something to be celebrated? Anybody chime in?
I'll go. Just being here on vacation this week with the family and my whole family, my parents, my brother, my sister, all their kids. We've got like 13 people under one roof, and just something that's really cool to see. My son Leo. So last year, the biggest breakthrough for him last year was that he got sort of the courage and whatnot to get his head in the water in the pool. And so that was kind of, everything else he was sort of really scared about. And then, man, it's just like the transformation between last summer and this summer. He's literally jumping in the deep end, diving to the bottom, grabbing stuff. He's just like in and out of the pool. And it's just crazy, jumping and going underwater. And I was throwing him around the other day, which is just, 200% better than he was doing last year. So just to kind of see that growth was really, really cool.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome, buddy. Those are such great moments. I don't know if you had seen the picture I posted of Ocean where he just did this. He was able to swim from one side of the pool to the other, and he got a wristband at our public pool, which meant I don't have to be within 8 feet of him.
Okay.
And there's such a cool moment when I'm like sitting in the sauna, and we have a sauna right by the pool, and my kids are swimming. And I was like, it just felt like this evolution of our lives to where I wasn't fearing for his life constantly.
Well, that's like, go back a couple of years ago when they were, 3 and 5 or 2 and 4, and you take them to the pool, and it's like, you kind of think it's going to be a relaxing afternoon. It's like, no, you got to be like hyper tuned in. You're looking all over the place.
Life or death.
Yeah, exactly. So now we can actually kind of sit back and relax and enjoy it. It's nice.
It's great, buddy. I'm happy for you, man. So happy. Yeah. And I would tell you that Ocean's middle name is Leo.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I love that name. So cool. How about for you guys, Kelly or Lance? Any win that we can celebrate?
Yeah, I'll just kind of stick with the summer theme. I think we have been to the beach or the pool every single day this summer except once. So a little bit of background. I'm from Nebraska. It took my wife and I 30 years to get to our dream spot. And this last month, we've been living it up to the fullest, going to the beach every day, going to the pool every day. And same thing, just had 3-year-old just kind of start jumping into the water. Kids are turning into fishes. And we debated this year if we wanted to do summer camps or anything like that. And we just jokingly said, no, we're going to turn this into a 1995 summer. And we're going to go bike riding and hop in the pool every day or get our butts down to the beach because where we live. And so we're just kind of in a groove right now as a whole family, kind of keeping that 18 summers top of mind, top of heart right now. So it feels real good.
It's awesome, man. Good stuff. Yeah, guys, I had a chance to visit Kelly when I was doing the site inspection for our fall retreat. And he truly lives in paradise, man. And Encinitas, that area, Carlsbad, just north of San Diego is so stunning. It's just, and the vibe. I don't even know how you get any work done. It's like,
I haven't figured it out yet.
Kelly, don't get a Jeep if you want to get anything done.
Yeah, that's
Catch up with you eventually, right?
I feel like I wanted to talk about work-life balance, but it's like with Kelly being on the beach every day, I'm not sure that exists.
That's not a good conversation with me right now.
There should be a T-shirt for you where it's like the work-life balance and life is totally winning out. It's like somehow, some way, man, you're winning there.
Yeah, but that, I don't want to cut off Lance here, but that's it's been an inner battle within myself the last couple of years of how much time I should be spending. And I think I listened to a podcast of yours before I even met you, maybe 3 years ago. And you described work-life balance or balance as an impossible feat. I think you kind of compared it to spinning plates. And if you constantly are spinning one plate, you got to go after the other, and plates are bound to fall and break. And so that was almost going for perfection. And so the last, 90, 100 days or so, the work that I do get done, I feel good about getting it done. And then when I'm with my kids, I feel good about being with my kids. I still struggle with it because I'm human, But this summertime, it's, hey, it's 2:00. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to go to the pool, and that's okay. For the next couple hours, I can come back late at night, finish up some emails, finish up some work, make some phone calls, make some texts from the pool. But really just trying to integrate those two into one life rather than play that balance game.
Yeah, you're right, man. I remember, I don't know who to credit for this, but I want to credit John Berghoff for the idea of harmony. Rather than trying to balance, you just get things to work in harmony with each other, right? How do things complement each other? And if you're talking about an investment portfolio or your weekly schedule, if things can actually complement each other, then I think that's a win in the end. And even one of our members, Josh Lee, who was on the show that we just posted as I record this show, it released today, but he wrote a book called Balance is Bullshit. And it's this idea of, it's not really about balance. Although I use that word at times too, because I think we all get what that means. Like when we say it, we all know what we're talking about. It is the juggling. It is it's figuring out how to get things to work together so that in the end, we give the attention and the energy into the areas of life that matter. Right. And so it's good. I'd love to keep exploring how we define that as a community, because I do think there's a next evolution of how we talk about that concept and the words that we give to it and the definitions that we use. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that evolves. So, but I think you're doing an amazing job with your family. I mean, I spent time with you at your house, and you have a wonderful, loving, happy, energetic family, and it was just so cool, to watch everybody interact and just do life together. And we went to the beach.
And we definitely got to the beach a couple times and a couple hikes. Actually, I was just listening to a speech about the perfect day or perfect calendar, and what I believe so. Fellow Front Row Dad spent some time with him down in Pacific Beach this weekend, and he sent it to us, and a lot of what I pulled out of that is quit trying to make your calendar to be busy to appease everyone else in the world. And I was like, bam, that's it. That's what I've been trying to do, is like, hey, I have to be working 6 or 8 hours as an entrepreneur, because I got to show everyone else that it's okay that I'm working and can work from home and all this stuff to prove. And like literally this week, I've had the discussion with my wife, who are we proving it to? I mean, we're literally on this planet one time. We're going to die. The people that are going to remember me most are living in my house right now. Why wouldn't all my time and energy, or the majority of my time and energy, of course I got to work, I got to pay the San Diego bills, but why wouldn't the majority of time be spent to those humans that are going to remember me the most? The money that I make right now at 32 years old isn't going to mean shit when I die at 132. I got to beat John.
Thinking big. That's cool, man. I love that. Who are you proving it to is an interesting question. And also, dude, you dropped two real nuggets in there, man. I love the idea of the people who will remember you the most are in your house right now.
And it just came up.
That's so cool, dude. I love that.
Yeah, I love that, Kelly. That's such an awesome, not even an analogy. It's just such a cool phrase. And that, if you don't spend time with your kids right now and your wife, who you're supposed to be the closest and love the most, the kids won't know you when they leave the house, and they won't ever return because they don't know you and they don't know your heart. And your wife, you're just going to be staring at each other and whenever the kids leave. And we have to be intentional and aware now, and instead of just waiting for some miracle retirement to bring your family together, where you're suddenly going to have all the time in the world to devote to your family, and they're not going to want anything to do with you.
It's going to be too late.
Absolutely. Yeah. Lance, how about a win for you, buddy?
Yeah, I feel like there's a huge revelation and revolution going on in my own world, both physically and spiritually, emotionally, and just a connection. I feel like I'm so honored to be part of you guys' organization in some small way, and just, you know, again, just trying to gain perspective of every day. You hear that like every day is a gift, but if you don't take every day and make a moment out of them, I love that 18 summers is just taking those summers, and you have we all have a finite time to make an impact on our kids and our wives. We don't see many 90-year-olds climbing, you know, whatever. I think I read somewhere, we have to do it now. And one of the things that I hate is looking back and thinking I could have done this so much better. You know, I look at you, Kelly, and you just said you're 32. Well, I've got you. I'm 45, and I commend you for starting this as soon as you have, you know, just young kids and just seeking out other men to mash on and make you better. And it's super powerful stuff. And I wish I could have had something like this when I was 32 to help me but there's just, you guys are just, it's such a powerful thing that you guys are doing. And just to have that awareness and that focus, to focus on the things that are most important to you. Like you said, Kelly, that your wife and your kids are paramount. And so if we don't get that right now, we're, you know, I fear for another 10 years to go by. But I think I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I have to absolutely give credit to JV and this group, because I could have probably continued down the path and figured out these things, and it may have taken me 10 or 15 years. But this group has given me a time machine of what's going on in everyone's life around the country, and gave all this deep insight, and it's just expedited that process of what is top of mind all the time, because we know what we focus on expands. And focusing on this, being a part of this group has brought a lot of focus and attention into that area that matters most. So it's just been, this group has played, you know, that just an insurmountable role with that thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, for me personally, I've in the last probably 5 years, I felt like a wet log. And, you know, and I say that analogy because I love looking into a fire and just seeing a fire burn, and it brings warmth. It brings people together. You know, people sometimes will sit around a fire and not say a word for hours, but yet you're getting some type of you know, you're around it. But you know, when you put a wet log on a hot fire, you know, that fire starts quick, and it ignites, and it creates passion and excitement. And so when you have a group like what you guys have created, that people are wanting to meet near that and wanting to sharpen each other, you know, you can have guys that are at the end of their rope and they're just giving up, and then you just mash on them for a couple hours, and all of a sudden they're just on fire. And so I feel like I'm on fire right now. I hope and pray that I'm not going to lose it, and that I'll keep going. And that's one of my biggest struggles, is I just need to show up, and so that you guys can yell at me if I don't show up, and I don't need you to baby.
Noted. I got permission to yell
at me.
No.
Yeah.
On that topic, Lance, you know, two of my favorite authors, Chip and Dan Heath, they have something, I don't remember what book it was. They wrote Made to Stick, Switch, Decisive, and now The Power of Moments. I think those are their books, but really great writers. Really enjoy their work. But they had this concept called a tripwire. And the idea was that you set these things in your life when you know that there is a possibility that you'll fail, right? That you'll fall off, that you will not do that thing that you need to be doing. You set a tripwire. And it's, we do it all the time in our lives. I mean, it's an alarm. That's it. Like, hey, I'm going to be sleeping. I'm going to be doing something else. I need something to interrupt me so that when this happens, some trigger gets, set off. And I think that when we create a peer group that has a established standard, that we've created a tripwire in our lives, it's why our band does so well, why it's been so impactful for me. We started this last October, and for anybody who's listening for the first time, a band in our community is just a small group of men who've gotten together and hold each other to a high standard, have honest conversations, right? Meet at a regular basis. Our band is 4 guys. We meet once a month, 2 hours on the first Friday of every month from 11 to 1. Each of the guys, of the 4 guys, handles one of the quarters of the year. So one guy handles Q1, another guy handles Q2, schedules the calls, leads the meetings. It's that simple. And we just basically go around what's going well, what's not going well. But what I found in doing that is that sometimes I don't even know that I'm off until I get around those guys, and then I realize I'm off. Because by putting that's my tripwire. My once a month lunch with these guys is my tripwire. That's the one time when I do an inventory check, and then they get honest, and we get honest with each other. We actually said just recently at our last band practice, we call it band practice, Blue Zone, by the way, that's our band name. That at our last band practice, we said, we're going to do a 360 review amongst our group with each other, anonymous feedback. So right now we're looking for the tool that we're going to use so that, because one of the ideas was, I want you to tell me and be totally honest. If you see something off with me, I want you to tell me. And we gave each other permission to just outright say it. But then we said, what if how much more honest would we be if it was a tool that used an anonymous, is it anonymity? Is that the word I'm looking for, right? So then we'd be super honest if we could just type our feedback and then they wouldn't know who it was coming from, but we could be super direct with each other. Hey, this is a concern, right? Like, I think you're yelling at your kids too much. I think you work too much. I think I'm worried about your drinking. I'm worried about whatever, right? It could be any of those things that you would just say, hey, other people aren't going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this. Yeah. Tripwires, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
What tripwires do you guys have? How are you holding yourself to a high standard right now? What are the systems and tools and accountability? Where are the accountability buddies in your life?
For me, this year has been big on just the, and it really came out of Front Row Dads, right, is the family focus days. For me, I'm putting a ton of energy in trying to kind of build something new and make a transition. And so this year I had to get, very intentional about accomplishing some goals, and really tracking those goals on a regular basis. And so I've got, some real specific things that, me and the wife talked about in December to achieve for this year. Tracking things on a monthly basis. And then, we actually get together once a quarter to kind of review all that stuff. And it helps me kind of give her an update on where I'm at in the business side of things. And then also, we talk about things outside of the business, just family, right? So, board meetings with my kids and, date time for us and projects around the house and things like that. But just kind of creating that rhythm of getting together on a regular basis and having a little bit of a flow that we go through, right? Kind of, it came from Justin Donald and some other folks, the One Thing retreat, and we've kind of, molded it to what works for us. That's been really powerful. And then me just getting super specific on some of my things that I have to do and just tracking those and keeping myself accountable. And then knowing that I have to report on that has helped me. Or another, if I
report to your wife on that?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. That's helped me, and I don't say that in a bad way, right? I mean, it's me just knowing that, hey, I've got to get together in the next couple months, and if this is red and not green, then that's going to be a problem. And it helps push me, forward and hold me accountable when it's not just myself. I brought some of that into the band too, with the goals and things.
Steve, what are some of the specifics? Like, I can imagine a guy out there listening right now saying, all right, what does a family meeting look like for you when you get together with your wife? Like, what are you tracking? What are you measuring? How are you doing that?
So we have a, you call it a document, right? I actually have it sitting here because we're going to get together on it this week. But some of the specific goals that I have for me is, one, it's a revenue goal that I have to hit. There's a savings goal that we have to have in place. There's a reduction of debt, right? And then there's also sort of a plan for my wife to go back to work more, full time to help as I transition. But we just go back. We start with, looking back on the last year or 6 months and kind of reflecting on some good times. We go through a financial review. We talk about some of the travel and adventure that we have planned. We have a section on like careers and business, and then family activities and the children, and then kind of home or other projects is kind of the flow of it. And we've sort of, again, that's evolved from some of the stuff that Justin and Donald shared in with the group, and the one thing, we just kind of pared it down to fit. We try to do I'll say a 1-day session in December to plan for the year ahead, kind of a half day in the middle of the year, and then, another half day or a few hours at the other quarters. That's
cool, man. Kelly or Lance, do you guys do like regular family meetings, or you have time with your wife or your kids to talk through goals and schedules and all that?
I don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kelly.
No, I was going to say not as much as I'd like to. And I actually just had the discussion with my wife yesterday after Ryan Mickler kind of talked about his morning routine and what they do from 7 to 8, and just how they pray together and talk about the goals and objectives for the day. And I loved how he put it as it eliminates the questions, because then I think about what questions are asked and the thoughts and feelings around those questions. Because I even said to my wife, just to be vulnerable here, like when you ask me, what do you got going on? I feel like sometimes you don't think I have enough going on. And that's probably, maybe that's what she meant. Or maybe one day she meant that, and the next day it's not at all what she meant. But we're not having those questions or conversations in the morning just to clear up the air. And so we actually just had a great conversation about just building some more routines, and then just getting back. Summertime can just be hectic, but getting back to the table for family dinners and having those conversations as well, and just talking about everything. And then the other thing we discussed was, he talked about the code of conduct, but just having just more conversations of what do Gilsons do? What's our level expectations? And it's something we talk about quite often, but we don't ever use that vocabulary. And now that my daughter's going on 11 and my son's going on 8, man, why wouldn't I be having those conversations with that vocabulary? Because we're on the downhill towards, grown up, and it now is the time. Yeah. So just to have it, and it's not just one conversations, it's a million small conversations.
Yeah, exactly. I'll comment real quick on this morning routine idea, and how this has been really, or the family meetings, right? Like this idea of scheduled time. I feel like we're really figuring out our flow here in Front Row Dads about how this all works, our rhythm, right? So we know we have, speaking of that word rhythm, and we've brought up his name on this show already, but our buddy Jim Shields, right? The family board meeting. It's just a ritual, right? It's a tripwire to say, look, I'm going to make sure that I get this quarterly meeting with one child, 1-to-1. And, things like that exist in our life that are hey, we just need a chance for everybody to come back together. I feel like that's the theme emerging of this call, is like, we need something that brings people together on a regular basis. So our band comes together once a month. Whether it's dinner time with your family or a quarterly board meeting with your kids. And if you're out there listening going, what do you mean the quarterly board meeting? Just go read The Family Board Meeting by Jim Shields, and you'll totally get it. It's a quick read. You can get through it in 2 hours. It's awesome. Yeah, it's a great book. And it's on an audio book right now as well. And thanks to Jim, he gives a shout out to Front Row Dads at the end. So we love you, Jim. But the deal is that here's what happened recently, guys. This is a win for me. Is that Tiger, so we've been really struggling all summer trying to get reading done and math done. We want to make sure that we're doing a little bit of it every day just to keep Tiger in the flow, so that when we go back to school, he's not feeling so behind on where he is in school. So we wanted to do this every day. But I will tell you, more days than not, we got to the end and it's like dinner time and we're like, did we do any math? Did we do any reading? No, like nothing. And that was so frustrating. And I could tell, like, then mom's energy is off, my energy's off, and Tiger doesn't feel good about himself. And here's what's so crazy. hit me. I'm like, Tiger, we're going to do this first thing in the morning. We're going to wake up.
Swallow the frog.
Well, that's it, right? That's it. Eat the frog. Do the thing. Do the tough thing first. And this is the morning. This is the power of getting it done. So I just stepped up as the leader, and I said, "This is what we're doing, Tiger. Right? I'm going to wake you up." And even I was being too wimpy with him with waking him up. Like I was just, And then I just said, "Look, dude, you're going to be angry at me. It's okay. I'm ready for you to be angry at me. I'm going to come in. I'm going to turn on the light. If you scream at me, hey, that's on you. But you're waking up." Like I just had this like really honest talk with Tiger. And sure enough, he got up, came downstairs. I set the expectation. We did the math. He did the reading. And then the whole day, he's happier and more confident. And the family's happier. And everybody's lighter because he's a champion. And the work is done. And there's no burden. But so then we started doing a family morning meeting. We started to see the power of like how we start our day, not just me. Because look, yeah, the speed of the leader, speed of the team, right? You can say that you need to do your morning routine. But then I said, well, why don't we have a morning routine as a family? If it works for me, why wouldn't it work for us? So we started getting together for this morning circle where we get together and we literally created a chart that we're using with Front Row Foundation and now we're using with our family. Monday is Map It Out Monday. We plan the week. We go, here's what's happening Monday through Friday. We write it down. We hang it up on the fridge. We map out our week. Friday is Follow-Up Friday. Hey, what happened this week? Where were the wins? How did it go? What went well? What didn't go well? Need to apologize to anybody? Right? Like that's Follow-Up Friday, right? Or, a Finish It Up Friday, just before we go into the weekend. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we each lead a day, meaning my wife leads a day, I lead a day, and Tiger leads a day. And guys, I got to tell you, this has been so powerful to have this system in place to bring everybody together and get us on the same page and talk about things and write things down. And so now we've got goals on the fridge, we've got plans, and we all feel more aligned. Now it rubbed a little bit, like it wasn't easy. I don't want to paint the picture. This was all like picture perfect. There was a big rub, but it did work.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Yeah.
Very cool, John.
So I don't know. You guys got any thoughts about any of that?
Well, I'll say go ahead, Lance.
Well, I'm just gonna say there's the way my brain works.
Oh, you're muted.
I think you hit the mute button.
Is that people bring up.
Hey, Lance, can you back up like 10 seconds because we lost you to the mute button? I think he's still muted.
Yeah, it looks like it. Hey,
buddy, we can't hear you. All right, I'm going to mute him just in case he comes back in. Hey, Lance, I'm going to try to send him a message, guys. He's on a rant with something really good. Hey, everybody out there listening, Lance is telling us something amazing. We just don't know what it is.
The $1 trillion idea right now.
That's right. And then he comes back on, and the only thing we hear is, and that totally changed my life.
And that was where all the gold was hidden.
That's right. Hey, buddy, I think he just realized that we can't hear him. No, we can't hear you, buddy.
No audio.
No, we can't hear you. All right. Well, hey, guys, let's keep the conversation going while Lance figures out why we can't hear him. Maybe a speaker went out or something. I don't know.
Those Wranglers.
Yeah. Anything else on where we're going with this that you guys had any thoughts about this idea of family focus days, meetings, tripwires, any of that?
I just like the idea of integrating the kids in it, right? So, I love your idea of that morning meeting and circling up and just kind of getting everybody together. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, golly. Somebody called in and they messed up the whole thing for me. I was pouring out my heart, man.
That's what we said. You're like giving us the best idea ever and we can't hear you.
Yeah, well, I was just saying that there's so many phenomenal ideas that are coming out, and the problem that I face is organizing all of those things into a format that will be a sustainable model for me, and not only just something that will work for now. And a buddy of mine says life is about seasons, and sometimes you'll have a season where that technique will work, and sometimes the technique won't work, and you just got to be okay with that that may not work for that person or that season in your life. But the thing for me is I have to keep it simple. I have to simplify my life into very easy to follow things that I can follow and that I can keep up with. The Miracle Morning was perfect for me because it gave me an action item. Wake your tail up early and just sit there and be silent for a second, and just now I've parlayed that into working out in the mornings and so I'm turned it into something. But I think the hardest thing for me is taking all of the great ideas that come about and organizing them into a format where I'm not getting overwhelmed. Because John, that's a phenomenal idea. Like having a morning, meeting with the kids. I know it will work if I have the cojones to wake my 14-year-old up but right now I struggle with my wife, and I mean, she is not a morning person. I'm a 4:30 every morning waking up. She's a 7:30. If I look at her direction, before 8 and before coffee, it's like, it's not good. And
dude, I'm in the same boat. By the way, I'm in the exact same boat.
I mean, morning sex, I pray she never
I like where you're going with this, Lance. Let's switch subjects.
So,
that was a hard and fast transition, buddy.
Yeah, but mornings are awful for my wife, but they're I know it works. I know all these strategies work, but that's what I struggle with, is keeping it simple and keeping it actionable where you can make a difference and change. So,
well, dude, look, this is really important. This is really important because this is something we all need to keep in mind, not only for ourselves, like that these are, hey, what's the one thing and this is Jeff Woods, right? Like, he's part of our group. His whole training company is the one thing, based on the book with Jay Papasan and Gary Keller, right? So the idea is, what's the one thing that we can do that's going to make the biggest difference? We can't change everything at once, right? We can try, but the best thing to do is pick the thing that's going to have the most leverage, the most power, get that rolling. And that's tough sometimes for an entrepreneur who wants to, like, come on, let's go. And, I have to remember sometimes, like, when I'm up at 5 a.m. and by the time that, like, my wife opens up, I'm ready. I'm like hitting her with, like, boom, I'm at like level 10 already. And it does not go over well,
She basically puts her hand in my face and said, I can't hear anything you're saying. It's too early. Yeah.
It doesn't go over well. You got to know, this is timing over topic, guys. This is a subject we brought up multiple times, which is timing over topic. We think it's the topic that's pissing somebody off, or a lack of communication strategy, or whatever it is. It's like, no, it's the timing. It's when you bring it up. Like, some guys, I failed. These are all from my failures, right? Like, bringing up the wrong shit on date night. Right? Like, if it's date night, there's a rule, there's certain things you don't bring up on date night, right? When it's early in the morning and your partner's not a morning person, don't bring up big stuff. Like, all these things about when do you bring it up, right? Like, there's even things that you might just realize that these are not dinner topics. These are not date night topics. These are not morning topics. You have to really be careful about when you communicate around certain subjects like that. No doubt.
Yeah. And I think you hit a nail on the head there with just picking one thing. I was talking to somebody recently who just joined, new member. And so this is a good takeaway for any of the guys listening that might be newer to the Front Row Dads. And he said, hey, I'm going through all the podcasts and the content, and I feel a little overwhelmed with everything. And I'm trying to, kind of find my way. And my feedback to him was, hey, just focus in on one thing, right? What resonates the most with you? Pick one thing that you can implement in your life that you think is going to have the most impact, and just focus on that. And then once you have that as part of your daily rhythm or whatever it might be, and it's into your routine, then, move on and find something else that you can implement, and just go piece by piece. And, for me, when I came to that first retreat, gosh, almost 3 years ago, and, had that experience together, for me, coming out of it, it was the board meetings, right? And that was my one thing. And 3 years later, I haven't missed one with my kids, and that's been a game changer for us. And it is such a simple thing to implement, but it's had such massive returns. So that's a good piece of advice. I think what you were saying earlier too, Kelly, about, just being in a group like this, some of those things, gosh, like, I just think about, never having discovered some of these things that I've implemented, right? And so it just allows you to kind of make accelerations in your life and your growth for yourself and your family in ways that just, would never be possible.
Yeah, I want to circle back to that. Just kind of go a little bit more into the bands. So our band is 5 guys, and I love Jon's because they're all living in Austin. We don't all have that luxury of 4 or 5 front row dads in our city. But I have one other one, and we have 3 guys across 2 different time zones, and have those conversations. And the point that I was going to get to is Evan Keller lives here in San Diego, and it's an individual I didn't even know existed on the planet 8 months ago. Met him in October, and he was just up, came and did a family day with us July 4th at the beach. And the level of our conversations now, that's the beauty of the individuals that are in Front Row Dads, but then within the bands, we've had so many great conversations as a group, but now we just had the one-on-one time together, and we probably spend an hour just walking on the beach playing with the kids, but having deep, meaningful conversations that I was literally thinking, like, I don't know if I could share this stuff with some of my blood relatives that have known me for 32 years, and I'm sharing this stuff with my bandmate now, and have total trust and faith in him because we see the world very similar. And so that's just a huge tripwire, is to have those constant conversations, but then the conversations that mean something, and actually something, not the topical conversations, not just the money and business conversations. But man, what's going on in your marriage, and what's working in your marriage, and how are you crushing it here? And then what in the hell is going on when this is happening with your kids? What are you doing? What would you do here? And these are just great, deep conversations, like I said, that you just don't have in normal relationships, even with your best friends. I've had best friends for 5, 10, 20 years. I don't have these conversations with.
It's context, because one of the things that we have created is the space. And Stephen, you get this so well because this is what you do professionally. You create spaces. You create a container where you have an agreed upon rules or permissions to go places that you don't in other environments, right? Like, a lot of it is you shape an environment and certain things will grow there. That's what we try to do in this brotherhood, is shape an environment that gets us permission to get past this topical dialogue. And just because you kind of wear that badge, because you have that code of being a front row dad, you have this permission to go deeper, quicker on these subjects, and it's culturally acceptable. In fact, it's invited, and we want that, right? So that we don't always get that in other places, because people haven't taken time to say, who are we for each other? What are we all about? How is our relationship or this community different than what we have in other places in our lives? Like, how honest do we want to be? How deep do we want to go in these conversations? How real do we want to get? These are all things that when you establish them culturally and you create a space, an environment, you get that, Kelly, which is great. And props to you, by the way. That's not me patting myself on the back. That's like, our guys have made that possible. Like, this brotherhood is only powerful because of the amazing men that are in it, right? There is no one leader. There's bunches of leaders in the Front Row Dads who all choose to step up and create that space.
And one thing I want to say, just to on that topic again, is I heard Bill Walton say he doesn't, because someone asked him, you played for John Wooden and some legendary coaches, compare the coaches. And he said, I never compare championships or coaches. And I literally think of that, of every relationship, everything that I do in my life. I don't compare my relationship with my Front Row Dad brothers to the best friends that I have, or my real brothers, or my blood relatives, or my dads. I love them and cherish for each relationship, because I get to explore different contexts. I get to have different relationships, and I just cherish the difference between them. So I just want to make that clear, that it's not about comparing, and one's not better than the other. It's just, it is what it is. And I love it for that.
It's different. Yep. Yeah. No doubt. Well, guys, we're getting to the end of the show here, and I just want to say thank you guys for being here and being with us. I'm going to come to you in just a moment with any final words. So if there's anything left unsaid, I'd love to hear from you guys with any final thoughts for the community or calls to action. Like, hey, what can people do from here with the information that we've shared? Although I think you guys have done a great job of getting there with even like the idea of just one thing. Pick one thing and focus on that for the next 30 days. I did want to mention very quickly, though, that we have our fall retreat, October 23rd through the 25th. For any guys out there who are members who want to come join us, that's going to be a great event. I also wanted to say that if you're out there listening and you're wondering, how do I become a part of the Brotherhood to join this officially, we will have our next enrollment opening up in November. We only open this about 2 times a year. We just opened one and had 30 men join us. We'll open up again in November for another group of men to join in. But our next retreat is for members only, and that is October 23rd through the 25th. But once you become part of our Brotherhood, you then learn how to get invited to these retreats, which we have 2 of them a year, and there are about 40-ish guys that come to these events. Kelly, I wanted to ask you, man, for anybody out there listening that is part of the Brotherhood, or even guys that aren't, dude, tell us about why would somebody want to go to this event, and approach it, if you will, from 2 angles. If I know that you got, and I'm going to challenge you to keep this to just a couple minutes, because I know you could rant on for a while about your area that you live in, but where the hotel is specifically and why it's awesome, and then also, and I know you got a visitor, by the way. Feel free to bring anybody on.
We're puppy sitting.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. But talk about the location, but also about your experience with the retreats. You know, why coming to a retreat is cool.
And yeah, I could probably go hours into this topic, but I'm going to go, why is it important to go to these retreats? And I will hands down say, when I walked into the retreat in Austin a couple years ago, and I knew nobody, I had one phone conversation with you, it absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. It changed who I spend my time with, where my thoughts were going. It changed my entire world. It was that impactful, and it was with 39 strangers, which was crazy. But I think we went and played Frisbee golf first, and then within 30 minutes of the conversation, I was just like, holy shit, I'm home. Like, this is amazing. This is the Brotherhood I've been looking for my entire life. And so October retreat, though, you get to come to a little slice of heaven we like to call Pacific Beach, San Diego. And it's my favorite place on earth. We were just there for a week doing a little staycation, staying on Crystal Pier, which is right outside of the hotel that Jon has picked out. The sand's going to be perfect. October's just the best time. We're gonna do a little challenge in the sand volleyball. I know there's people all over the country practicing, hiring private coaches, practicing like the Chinese and Russians practice volleyball for like 15 hours a day just to get ready for this retreat. But it's going to be awesome. And I know we got Tony DiLorenzo, who we got to have dinner with, and I've had a couple mornings with on marriage and sex and honesty. And my goal is to get to where he is in his relationship, after 25 years. And
he's host of the One Extraordinary Marriage podcast. And that's what he and his wife, Alyssa, do, right? They help people with their marriage. Yeah. And as he says, the most popular topic and question that comes up is sex. So yeah, he's going to be there doing a Q&A session with the guys.
So I'm guessing it's already sold out, but if you could swindle your way in, I'd get there.
Yeah, it's actually, it's not quite sold out, but we have more guys registered at this point in the year than we ever have for any fall retreat, which is great. So we usually cap it around 40-ish guys. We have 26 guys that are officially registered right now, which is fantastic. And I think the other 14 just probably think they're registered and they're not yet. So I got to get them, make sure that they know.
I don't think the other 100 guys in the group even know registration's open. Somebody was texting me. He was like, how do I register? I was like,
as you can see, I've done a really great job at details. I'm doing a fantastic job of telling them it's in San Diego. They have no idea how to register or book flights or a hotel or any of that stuff. Steven, how about for you, man? You dude, any thoughts about the retreat itself? You've been to several.
Yeah, gosh. And I mean, it's funny because I would just echo Kelly's comments. I came to the very first retreat you had, like I said, almost 3 years ago. I didn't know you at all. I didn't know anybody in that room. I had found your podcast and listened for a little while and decided to kind of take a risk and show up, and had really no idea what I was getting into. And I mean, gosh, within minutes of being in that room, that bar with the red door and the steins all over I was in a circle with, I think it was Scott Lowry and John Kane and some other guys. And I was just like, just where am I and who are these people? What is this? And that night went on for what seemed like hours and hours, but it was so amazing and incredible. And, since then, just so many different doors have opened for me. And I mean, without exaggeration, my life has gone in a whole different direction and trajectory. I mean, really what I'm pursuing now is a direct result of that. Right. And so some of the people I've met along the way and some of the, tools, tips, strategies that I've implemented have been just massively powerful for me and my family. And there's just a whole nother level of depth and value that comes with joining, the brotherhood in person at a retreat like this in a beautiful location, and all the activities that you bring people through and the discussions and the connections and the conversations we have just create such powerful outcomes. So
yeah, man. And you're doing it now in North Carolina with your family, just breaking away. I mean, I think the principles there apply to everybody in every location around the world. Doesn't matter what you do. Like, you've got to break away from the norm. You got to get out of your schedule. You've got to get into a space with a group of people you both align with and that are different than you to bring something new to the table. And you need to have structured conversations or some type of rituals and routines, and also fresh ideas, for how you unite. But that alone, whether it's for our businesses or our families, we need both. I tell guys now all the time, like, look, you need a business mastermind. You're in a business, you need a business mastermind. You need guys to connect with, you need to talk about it, you need to have places to go and people to chat with. And you also need that for your family. If it works for your business, it has to work for your family. And if it's working for your business, why on earth would you think that's not necessary over here for your family and make that even more of a priority, right? Like, and I always credit Isaac Tolpin for this idea. He's like, most men will plan out a board meeting for an hour, but they won't look at their dinner table with the same type of value. They'll just look at it like I go sit down and eat. But why wouldn't we look at it like our most important team is sitting around the table? And sure, it's different, but you can have intention with that. You can have, right, thoughtfulness about how you're going to show up and lead within your family. That's the spirit of all this. So guys, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. And thanks for being part of the brotherhood and pouring in. It's the type of place where this is a brotherhood where people come to give more than they take. And the interesting thing, it hit me the other day, I was like, the only way to increase the level of receiving, because everybody wants to receive value. Like, that's okay, sure, of course. I love receiving value. But the only way to increase the level of value being received is to increase the level of value being given. So the step one to any brotherhood having a lot of value for everyone to receive is for the most number of people to show up and give everything they can. And in doing so, the level of value of being received on all parties goes through the roof. And that's what happens here with these men, is that people are choosing to show up. And that's why it's growing so fast, because there is a group of men out there that aren't being served, these high-performing, entrepreneurial, spirited guys who are they do not have this conversation in their life. And so thanks for creating that, guys, here in Front Row Dads. And Lance, you're the newest member. Thank you, buddy, for being here.
You bet. I just want to say real quick, thank you, guys. And on just that note is I don't feel, and I'm probably speaking for a lot, I don't feel like I have a whole lot to give. But I think you just hit it on the head, is that the willingness to show up and just be available and be present, and then move into a space that you're not necessarily comfortable in. I'm speaking from where I stand right now as just an outsider looking into a group of guys that are established. And so I'm looking at it as I don't know what to expect. I don't know where my place is, but I'm going to vow to keep showing up. And so I guess I'm speaking for all the new guys that have joined Front Row Dads in that I'm going to show up and I'm going to be available wherever you need me. And, and I want to be hopefully used to help other dads and fathers. So.
Well, you said showing up. We talk about that all the time here. Show up, right? And number two, the only thing I would push back on there, Lance, is I would challenge you that you do have something to give. And so I don't think that's true, that you don't have a lot to give, because when you give somebody the gift of attention, when you give somebody your ear, when you ask a question and let them talk it out, that is one of the greatest gifts you give in the world. The problem is when people's ego gets them into a place where they think that all their value is where their mouth is running, and they're shouting out great ideas. But that's not it. It's allowing other people to shout out ideas. And in that spirit, let me shut up and allow for Stephen and Kelly, any final words, since I brought that up earlier, just to close us out, things that need to be said that haven't been said.
I just got a challenge for everyone who hears this live stream or podcast, everyone in the group, or if you're just listening to it, is if you're in the group, reach out. If you're in the members group, reach out to one other dad, to go on to Lance's point, have one-on-one conversation. Doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I will bet Lance Montgomery's Jeep Wrangler that you will get value and that you will give value within that 5 to 10 minutes. And I will almost guarantee you that it will go above 10 minutes and you will gain another brother. And so if you're feeling new or you're feeling frustrated, reach out to somebody. We have that Facebook community. Just give them a message and say, hey, I would love to connect for 10 minutes and hear about your life. And that's where you're going to get the most value out of these bands and this group. So.
Yeah, good stuff, Kelly. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Steve?
I think that's an awesome note to end on, honestly. I mean, I was thinking along the same lines. It's just, hey, don't be afraid to raise your hand and either ask for help or give some value, engage in the group, introduce yourself, just kind of show up, right, to your point earlier. And from there, there's only a couple of, good things that can happen. Either get value, give value, create some new conversations, some new relationships, and that's what it's all about here. So I think it's a great point to end on.
Thanks, Steve. And guys out there, one idea, do one thing for the next 30 days, be consistent with it, create a win, and then go into the Facebook group, frontrowdads.com/Facebook, to the open group with more than 1,000 men, and start off your post with #win. And then post your story of what you implemented and why it worked, right? So there's 4 ways to engage in the group, and one of them is by sharing wins, because if it's working for you, it could work for somebody else. So share your wins, post in there 30 days from now, something that you did consistently and the results that you got from it. Guys, thanks again for being here. Appreciate you being part of Front Row Dads. And for everybody out there listening, we'll catch you on the next show.
All right.